everyone. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My guest, Tracey Lawrence, and I will be chatting it up. And before we jump into our how she is dealing and adapting with COVID in her area, the shelter in place orders. I'm so interested in finding out what it's like in the New Jersey area. Let's jump into our conversation, Tracey. And thank you so much again for joining me today. I really appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure, Kimberly. I love talking to you. You're a lot of fun, and we have so much in common. So it's
A lot of
awesome.
energy at the same time.
Oh yes, oh yes. That
So
caregiver mojo.
yes, it is it's good stuff. So tell folks where you're located and how are you doing? How's all this affecting you?
Well, I'm very fortunate in that I live in northern New Jersey,
Okay.
and for those of you who are in another part of the country, it might be like because I'm so close to New York,
Uh-huh.
right, which is the epicenter. But I'm very fortunate in that one, it's just me and my husband and my cat. So this would be a very different thing if I had somebody to care for
Yeah.
over and above that. So I'm very fortunate. So I'm not having to explain to somebody why we can't go places and do things.
Yeah.
I'm also on top of stuff because on top of all the other things that I do, I am the station manager of my town's public access TV station.
Ah.
So yeah, so I'm kept abreast of what's going on. The borough manager has me on speed dial. So when he needs to get a message out,
Yeah.
like this week, he sent one of his folks over with his iPhone. He's not technically savvy, but I showed him how to airdrop stuff.
Uh-huh.
So
That's good.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So he has brilliantly learned how to record himself with his iPhone, and he sends one of his people over with his iPhone, stands 6 feet away from my door, and airdrops the video to me. So then I can produce it up.
Yeah.
And put it out, put it on cable TV, put it on
Yeah.
YouTube, post it all over the place. So now people in town know what's going on. And yeah.
You're a
So
plethora of CDC COVID updates as they
yes.
come in. Yes.
Yes, and it's nice to be in that position where it makes me feel good to be able to help my town, keep them informed,
Yeah.
and help them to figure out how to deal with the technical difficulties. When you can't have a council meeting with everybody in the same room, what do you do? Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So there's that part of it, and my husband works for Office Depot corporate.
Mm-hmm.
His office is in Clifton, but they got thrown out
Yeah.
a few weeks ago. And we're very fortunate in that we have a whole downstairs level,
Mm-hmm.
which in happier times is a practice studio for our bands. And my workout studio for
Yeah.
for me to do yoga and stuff, which I was doing this morning.
Yeah.
Namaste. And and he's able to be downstairs and do his work, and we can do our stuff. And then when he needs to have something printed out, he comes up here. And and also, we'll take breaks, and we'll share stuff that we've seen on social media, keep each other's mood up. This week we started wearing masks
Yeah.
if we go out, on the rare occasions that we do.
Yeah.
We've been
What
food
about
shopping.
Are you doing the glove thing?
I'm not doing the glove thing, but not doing the glove
Okay.
thing, but because of the circles that I travel in, I have tons of hand sanitizer.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like the places I go, they all like give out like premiums with their logo on it,
Yes.
and I have a drawer full of them.
I
So
used to I just donated all that hand sanitizer and all my travel soaps and shampoos from traveling and the trade shows. I literally, whenever I move, I donate a huge box, and hand sanitizer was in that box.
uh,
Darn it! But
yeah,
my
I'm
boyfriend,
glad I have them. They're really useful. And of course, the funny thing is that I didn't purchase masks and I didn't even look for them, but I had a box of
ah
masks. My husband was sick in 2017,
ah
And
So,
I bought a box of those procedural masks
uh-huh.
at
Yes.
CVS.
Uh-huh.
And I used to have to take him to see an infectious disease doctor. And I
Wow.
would spend hours in the waiting room
Uh-huh.
amongst people who had all kinds of infectious diseases.
Yeah.
So on with the mask. So I had a box of them that I was virtually untouched.
Yeah.
Just a couple of masks went, and that was it. So, but at any rate, so I've been very fortunate in that
Yeah.
regard, and our local stores are well stocked.
Yeah, that's good.
We have plenty of toilet paper for now,
My
and
my boyfriend and
I
I
mean,
went to we went to so he believes in the gloves because he's in the restaurant industry. So he uses gloves to cut meat, to chicken, and not cross contaminate, all this, that, and the other. So he
right,
was already so we had extra gloves and like two or three I'm like, why? And I'm thinking back to the time when I asked him, why do we have so many of these gloves? And now I'm very grateful we have them because we don't have the hand sanitizer, but he was already overly conscious about washing his hands. So now I'm become overly conscious about wiping everything down and washing hands and wearing gloves because I want to get through this so that I can, get out of the house, from where
sure, of
it's just
course,
time, like let's knock this out and move forward. But yeah, I feel the same fortunate that and there's toilet paper at our every one of our grocery stores. I think I only saw one in Sam's or Costco wherever we went last week, but it was at the end of the day. It was like 7 o'clock.
hmm hmm
So yeah, that
Yeah,
was
no, but I was at where was I? I was at Shoprite in Oakland, and they had some toilet paper, but
uh,
like the price was just like I looked at, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" I
yeah.
said, "I'll wash. I'll use a washcloth if I have to. I'm not paying that for toilet paper. That's
That's cr
nuts."
that just drives me nuts that they do that, that they price scout. Eggs here is something that they're talking about, the price going up. Gas, of course, has gone down here.
Here too,
I live in
yeah,
Houston now, and so it's definitely an, oil energy corridor area, so that's really, frightening, and just they always get hit really hard, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but just people that price gouge, even on sanitizer, that just breaks my heart that there
It's
are
terrible.
that people do that. And then the fraud alone that the fact
Hmm
that that's coming up, very frustrating. Already I have to remind my mom, don't give your phone number out to people on the phone that call you, don't answer the door,
Right.
because she doesn't have any short-term memory. So that's
Sure.
it's good and bad. Like, so she's not fearful of COVID. She only knows virus and that she's gotta, you know, do certain things and certain people can't come over. But at the same time, she's so headstrong. She's like, what do you mean? Why? Why can't I walk outside? Why can't I go, Oh, so that in itself is something that I'm continuing to be patient with. But I also record little mini videos so we can show her,
Right.
because I don't want to use the words remember, I told you, all the words you shouldn't use with somebody with
Right.
that.
Right.
I
Right.
started
Right.
recording and just saving the videos and sending them to the caregiver so she can just play them for her. So,
Yeah.
and depending on the time of the day and the mood she's in and how she's approached, I keep telling her, the caregiver, to be funny about it and be like, you want to be HR1 again, don't you? You don't want to be HR2, because she's always threatening to fire her caregiver. And she's like, you can't fire me. Yes, I can. So we make it a joke about it now. And especially in the times where she's confused as to why they're always having to stay home. Like that, just self isolation right now is just,
It's it's
mandatory,
bad.
but it's so painful for people like caregivers and their loved ones. Oh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, dementia always sucks. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are.
it's true.
Having to be inventive about explaining things to someone who has very limited ability to comprehend,
Yes.
you know, I mean, it's in the best of times, it sucks. So, having to deal with it now I mean, I'm so profoundly grateful
Yeah.
because I would be, well, what I tell the story, I had my mom living with me. I
Yeah.
used to, I couldn't like lock the door on her because I didn't know what she was going to do.
Yeah.
But there were times when she would just get to me to the point where like I would just go out to the driveway and sit in my car, blast the radio, scream at the top of my
Yeah.
lungs just to get it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then turn off
Yeah.
the car,
Yeah.
come back in, and let's start again.
Yeah.
So, but
Absolutely.
it's very frustrating,
Yeah.
and we have this tendency to want to correct somebody,
Yeah.
and tell them the truth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You want to
And
be honest,
deal,
but it's hard.
and deal with them the way we've always dealt with them, and then just suddenly realize this isn't going to work.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
So,
Especially when it comes to their feelings and their emotional state is already heightened sensitive, that if you're not, I definitely learned that humor has helped with her, especially during this time because I can't go there. This is
right.
I was supposed to have been there earlier this month, and that's not going to happen because I was so
Mhm.
fearful of, I'd be the only outside element that, heaven forbid, that I brought her something. I just couldn't live with myself. So
Of course.
we just had to lock that down and just be mindful. Her caregiver's great about overly sanitizing and wiping and cleaning, made her a little mask. And so I feel that, and the cases where she's at in El Paso are smaller than, like say Houston, because her primary doctor that was the first thing she asked me, how many cases do you have there? Even though I can still travel there, flights are, limited, but I just couldn't bring myself to thinking about what I would do to her because I'm home. My
Yeah.
boyfriend works in the restaurant industry. Luckily, still has part-time job there, and he deals with the public, comes into my home, so it'd really be you don't know, and so I'm just
No, and you that caregivers are always dealing with guilt anyway.
yes,
it's
that's a
it's
good
it's
statement.
one of the most tragic elements of being a caregiver. No matter
Yeah,
what you feel guilty, you're second guessing yourself, so you don't want to give yourself any opportunity
yeah,
to inject any. So you're being very smart.
yeah,
It's better to feel guilty about not seeing her
yeah,
than
yeah,
to feel guilty about exposing her to something that could potentially kill her.
yes,
So you're 100% on that.
absolutely,
I agree with your decision
yeah.
completely.
The guilt, and then it becomes sadness because but I mean, even though I talk to her still every morning via Alexa, thank God they have, she doesn't have Facebook, but for other, caregivers out there, there's FaceTime, there's Facebook has a face app, for Android, there's Duo, you could Zoom if they had a computer. Like there's so many
Hmm.
ways.
Skype.
Skype, there's so many ways to video, and I make it a very mandatory, like that's got to happen every morning. It was already, happening prior to this, but I now make sure that her caregiver knows that I need to see her every morning. Like if,
Hmm.
if I get busy or she gets, excuse me, busy with tasks for her around the house, they've got to call me because I'll be freaking out if I don't talk to her because she doesn't have a cell phone anymore.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
I just, I want to keep that connection with her, and we both make each other laugh, so it helps a lot. It helps break up my, if I'm feeling blue on a day, which has happened more, I feel now in the last month than it has ever. I mean, it happens at least once a month for me because, because I'm part-time, but I still have to delegate and do everything long distance, but it's hard. It doesn't, like, like you said, guilt comes with being a caregiver and you're just doing your best always. And of course, you got people judging you. And I won't even mention the people that judge me about that who are within my family. But it's just, everybody's doing the best that they can. I feel, how do you feel like
Absolutely.
caregivers right now, what they should be doing in this time, like just to be mindful of? So they're
Ah,
not being hard
well,
on themselves.
yes, I've actually prepared a caregiver tip sheet.
Ah, tell me
and
about it.
yeah. Okay, so and I thought, well, and since we're in the age of COVID right now,
Mhm.
I used COVID as an acronym for
Good.
things that we should remember
Wow.
about being a caregiver.
You are a
So,
teacher. That's awesome.
do do you want me to share my
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, yeah. Please
Okay,
make that
all right.
happen.
Let's see. Let's share a screen and application window.
Will it work?
Here we go. You see it? Is that working?
Hold on. Oh wait, I gotta add it to the stream. What? This
How cool is that?
That's
Okay.
cool.
Okay. So this is my little COVID dementia caregiving tips. And let's go through them, shall we?
Okay, yeah. I
All
love
right.
it.
So the number one, and this is something that I can't say strongly enough because most caregivers don't do this, is care for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yep, because we're so busy focused on taking care of this other person in our lives that we have a tendency to neglect ourselves.
yeah.
So when I say care for yourself, I'm talking about several things.
Yeah.
Number one, wherever possible, you want to do those care steps. So maybe you don't want to do this necessarily now, but once this crisis is over, if you're due for a mammogram, for God's sake, go.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to miss your regular appointments.
Yeah.
Okay, because
take a nap in this time, or take it like not your. I mean, yes, your physical regular, but inside the home.
yes.
Those self-care tips. Watch a quick funny show. Go take a bath while your person you're caring for is taking a nap, and time it.
Meditate. Meditate. And if you don't, yoga. I did that today. Absolutely. Yes. It's so important. Doing things that make your body feel good, that make your mind feel good. And if you don't know how to meditate, there are some great apps that you can download. They're free.
Yeah.
There's one I use. It's called Oak.
Okay.
OAK. Okay. It's awesome. It's free, and I love it. There's a mindful one, and then and there's one, I forget what it's called, but it's a great meditation for our times. Jay
Shetty's doing free meditation. There's lots of people online that are giving away, free things right now. Series, opening up their apps because we're all home. We can't go anywhere. So
right. And if you've never done yoga, learn.
Yes.
Okay. Find yourself
yoga.
Yes. Caregivers need yoga. Yeah. And the thing is that, you don't even have to do like a long practice. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes just a little, like 10, 15 minutes is all you need.
Yep.
I know I was sick all of February, not with COVID. I had a monster sinus infection. I was bedridden for 3 days. Mm-hmm. My hips were killing me.
Yeah.
So on day 3, I pulled myself out of the bed and I started doing spinal twists. Uh-huh. And I cannot tell you, Kimberly, the level of gratitude I felt for having that knowledge to be able to help myself, to make my body feel better. It's huge. So to be able to do that for yourself is a gift. I encourage all caregivers
100%
to give themselves. So and self-care is number one.
Yeah. And your second one, own your feelings. Like that is, I have been more heightened and aware in the last 2 months. Well, one, because my mom, I had to decide on what doctor for my mom to have this spine surgery for her to get back to walking regularly again. But then being here in the guilt of not being like there are days that I just I can't get out of bed. And, because I'm just so sad that I don't want to talk to anybody. Luckily, my boyfriend helps break that up. But being able to say that I feel this way has been to whoever it is, to my boyfriend or to a friend that knows, everything that's going through with my mom, or people will just call and check on me because I'm getting more comfortable with owning those feelings of anxiety and depression, because it is like every caregiver goes through it. I mean,
yes. Right? And and we have a tendency to push our feelings down.
Yeah.
And especially if you have a negative feeling about the person you're taking care of.
Yeah.
We have you don't want to even know that you're capable of thinking that way.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to share with you a feeling that I bet you every dementia caregiver has had at some point
Mhm.
that you would find that someone who hasn't been through it would find horrifying. I used to wonder why my mother wasn't dead yet.
Mm. Yeah, I can see
And
that.
and and for so many people, just the thought that you could have that
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
and embrace it,
Yeah.
and you admit that you want to talk about guilt,
Yeah. That's
feeling that. But you know what? Every caregiver understands where that comes from because it's not necessarily a selfish impulse either.
no. No.
You know, because you know that they're suffering,
Mhm.
right? You know that if they had a choice,
Yeah.
they would
Absolutely.
end it, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. I'm not saying all, but
No.
I'm just saying, for instance, so you need to own your feelings, you need to honor them, you need to acknowledge them
Mhm.
and put them in a place that makes sense. Don't just push it down,
Yeah, don't push it down.
acknowledge it,
Mhm.
talk to other people who
Get up, seek
understand
therapy,
you.
seek
Hmm.
seek
Oh,
some absolutely 100% seek
yes.
that
I think,
therapy. My
yes,
my
yes.
like besides the depression and anxiety, mine's more frustration with other family, one in particular because like I feel like everybody else we're all on the same team and then this one in particular is not necessarily like it just working against the whole of the group. So it's harder. And I don't want her to be upset, because she never wants anybody in our family to fight. She's always wants everybody to get along. We're family.
Right.
So mine comes with the frustration of, and so when I started speaking to a therapist about that, it really helped me to understand what that looks like, what that feels like, and why. But
Hmm.
or it just built up in stress and I still get stressed, but I don't feel it's as at a heightened level as it was before. But
Yeah.
um I want to make sure that like we at least hit the highlights of it so that way you can and then if people
Okay.
actually can reach out to you and get more information. But validate
Sure.
what you hear. What does that mean?
Okay. So a lot of times when our demented loved one tells us something,
Hmm.
we may become immediately distressed
Hmm.
without understanding the context. And a lot of times the things that they tell us are things that are only valid in their own minds.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, my mother would say to me, I've been trying to call you. And I knew that she didn't have a phone.
Yeah.
So how could she have been trying to call me?
Yeah.
So, but she in her mind, she was trying to reach me. She was trying to call me. She was trying to, get a hold of
Yeah.
me. And so, don't take what a dementia patient says to you on face value. You want to find out what they're really saying to you,
Hmm.
what the and what the truth is to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time we have a tendency to just react
Yeah.
and take what they say at face value. Don't do that because
Absolutely.
it's a recipe for more guilt.
Yeah, absolutely. And do a little bit of research if you can. If you got cameras or if somebody else during the day has talked to them,
Yeah,
find researching, getting the five sides of the stories, and then just kind of deciphering and
for
not
sure.
dismissing it from her, because
Right,
that
right,
makes it
right,
makes my mom angry. I don't know
right,
how,
right, right,
but I just know that it would make any person as a human being feel like they're not valued. So,
right, right, right. And
don't
and that's a cue for you to kind of drill down, right?
yeah,
Ask them questions. Say,
yeah.
well, tell me more about that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
What made you say that?
100%.
And sometimes you'll uncover an issue.
Yeah.
My mother would get angry every time she had a UTI,
Mhm.
right? And so after a while, I understood that if she was getting like really like hostile,
Uh-huh.
that it was probably time to put her on antibiotics and let's pull out the pee strips. Let's find out what's going on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And 90% of the time, that was it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it was just somebody would piss her off. That happened too.
Yeah.
But you learn to.
UTIs, yeah, I've definitely read and heard a lot about what UTIs do to the, elderly patients, including, especially those with like dementia and
Oh yeah.
other,
Oh yeah.
neurological diseases. What about
Oh yeah.
identify the resources?
Okay. So all right, as a society, we think we can Google our way out of anything,
Uh-huh.
but that's not necessarily true. Because if you don't know what something is called and you don't know how to give it a name, you
Uh-huh.
might not find what you're looking for.
Right.
But what you want to do is identify resources, identify people and agencies who can help you to find what you need, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of organizations out there who, the Alzheimer's Association is a fantastic resource.
Mhm.
I used them a lot when I was dealing with my mom's situation. There are websites that you can go to. There's something called Elder Care Locator,
Okay.
which is fantastic. So if you're looking for something to help you locally,
Mhm.
you can plug in, your zip code, and you can find all the resources locally that are available.
Mhm.
So don't try to Google your way through. Don't try to pull up a YouTube video that's going to show you like how to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
It's better to talk to people, join communities, become part of caregiver groups.
Yes.
Um,
Ask
I've
questions.
recently, yeah, and I've recently aligned with caregiver carecfa.org.
Uh-huh.
They're developing some really great resources. I encourage people to visit that site and become part of the registry.
Okay.
It's a work in progress, but it's going to be an awesome resource for a lot of people.
Well, we'll put those links in the description for sure, so that people know how to find those. I've found that definitely talking to others. I do use a lot of, I use multiple. I Google. I don't believe everything on Google is true, because that's not
Hmm.
necessarily. But I do look at multiple organizations, and talk to others. Like you, that have already been through this. I found AARP has a lot of things on, just elder care.
Caregivers,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, there's doctors, there this doctor that I just discovered, Dr. um, Joanne Lynn, she's got her own
Hmm.
website. I'll include
Hmm.
it in the show notes, but definitely she's got a lot of plethora of 30 years of information that, she's been in the elder care geriatrics world, and a doctor for 30 plus years. So just like
Yeah,
getting a wide variety and narrowing it down is definitely, I agree with that, to
right.
figure
And
out.
don't forget this.
Oh yes, the dementia sucks book.
Yes, this is my book, and there's a whole section in the back for caregivers.
Okay, awesome.
To get they're really good resources, and of course, reading the story, you'll get some ideas of things and some techniques that I developed along the way that might be helpful for you as well.
Absolutely.
And
And
the last item,
yeah, I like it.
delegate.
Yeah.
Delegate. You want to find allies. You want to
Yes.
you want to find people in your life, and if you have to hire them. But
Yes.
you want to
Amen.
delegate as much as possible so you're not carrying this load by yourself.
100%. I 100% agree. It drives me crazy well, I shouldn't say, it drove me crazy for the first 2 years when I didn't delegate, when I felt like I had to take it all on my by myself without asking, and
Hmm.
if you ask and they say no, no problem, but just keep asking, keep networking, keep, finding, and because there's a whole community of, even in my own, within my industry of multifamily, I have found more and more and more people have already either been through it, they're about to go through it, they're thinking about it, it's happening, and
Yeah,
talking to them.
Well, the sheer numbers of people who are aging,
Yes,
we know this. 10,000 people are turning 65 every day. That's
every
been
day.
happening for 10 years, and it's going to happen for another 10
Yeah,
years.
since
So,
2011, I learned that. Since 2011, every single day, 10,000 people turn 65. I keep saying that
yep.
out loud so people will understand. And after this crisis, after this COVID, those
Hmm.
people this year that thought they were going to be able to retire, well, one, nobody should retire, if they don't have to. I mean, maybe lessen the workload, change up, your job or whatever. But a lot of those 401ks are not gonna they're not gonna be the abundance that they were, but
Right.
they really should, this is gonna affect us, you know, future in the future. I feel like it's
Yes,
gonna
ma'am.
affect the caregiving world even more in a good way, because it's gonna draw the attention to finding better quality caregivers, as well as education for caregivers that are going
Yes.
unpaid, like the family, all these, uh 40 million plus people who go unpaid being caregivers because they're they fall in that middle gap, like me,
Yep.
like you, like we fall in the middle gap of being, taking care of a loved one, and or our parents having, not the 1%, gazillions of dollars, but in the middle where they don't qualify for anything because you know, they've got retirement, or they got social, or they've got savings, people like, I really feel it's going to shed a lot of great things, and a lot of good things will come out once we get on the other side of this.
Yes. Well, the powers that be they're starting to respond to it. Of course, they have other priorities right
Yeah,
now, but I've been
sure.
seeing a movement,
Good. I'm
and
glad. Makes me
that
happy.
is very encouraging. And the more of us who collaborate
Yeah.
and put our heads together, I'm seeing a lot more of that. And by joining forces and taking this problem on together,
Yeah.
head on, we're going to figure out stuff that works, and and the culture will change. It
Yes.
has to,
Yeah.
because we're going to be the majority.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, so I think it's going to have to, regardless of whether or not someone, the powers that be are going to actively support it, but they are.
Yeah.
They are. They're seeing it. They're being impacted themselves, and
Yeah.
we're all gonna be there at one point or another. So
I agree, and I'm very hopeful, so hopeful,
me
and
too.
I'm glad now that this has pushed people into this technology, into learning, to getting comfortable, to sharing.
Hmm.
Collaboration is key. I'm excited to have more conversations with you this way and collaborating, because it's definitely the only way that that we're going to help the future generations, the 13 to 20 something, those who are millennials that are going through it. That's the highest sector that's being affected right now, is millennials and women, that are becoming unpaid caregivers. It's just shocking. That's a whole other conversation. Um, but yeah, I definitely am excited about the future, and what you're doing, on top of the other things that, you know, I'm excited to get out there and, participate in. So tell folks, how they can reach you if in the future, they have
Hmm.
questions for sure.
Okay. Well, it's really pretty easy to find me. I've got 3 websites, but all you have to remember is dementia sucks.
Yep.
So go to dementiasucks.com, and there are links to all my other stuff.
Awesome.
There's if you go to the linked websites, there are contact forms
Okay.
on grandfamilyplanning.com and traceyslawrence.com.
Okay.
Lots of great resources. So reach out. I'm happy to
Yeah.
help.
And we'll put them in the discussion show notes as well, for sure.
Great.
So
Thanks so much.
yes, thank you, Tracy, so much. I really appreciate you chatting with me today. I know that we'll have more to chat about in the future, so we'll definitely, get some more of these topics on the schedule, because I really feel that, especially with your background and experience, after taking care of both your parents and, writing your book, and then the things you've been involved in, there's just so much knowledge that you have, that I feel that that the future of caregiving will definitely benefit from, and all the generations that are coming after us, because I don't want people to go through what you went through or what I went through, or still going through. I want it to be different, and I know that we can make that happen. So
Absolutely. We want to prepare people because it's coming.
yes, absolutely. 100%. So thank you very much. And everyone, thank you for watching. If again you catch this on the replay, please let us know where you're watching from. We will get to any questions. And tomorrow is April 9th, National Unicorn Day. I will probably be on by myself tomorrow. But next week, I got lots of people lined up, folks. So until then, thank you very much for joining us, and do as we do. Hashtag follow Tracy as well. And until tomorrow, bye, guys. Thanks again, Tracy.
Thank you, Kimberly.